no recorded action taken in closed session today. And we need to start with the attendance roll call vote. Clerk Reed.
Here.
Trustee Lopez. Here. Trustee Maxfield.
Here.
Trustee Polito.
Here.
And student representative. Here.
Welcome.
Thank you. We're going to talk about it. And we can all stand now for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So our perfect. So I just need a motion to go through and adopt tonight's agenda.
So moved. Second.
3.6. Oh, sorry. All in favor of approving the agenda? Aye. 3.6, the district mission statement. We are a collaborative, culturally rich educational community where rigorous, innovative curriculum prepares our students to be successful contributors to our global society. Number 4.1, recognitions. The Board of Education recognizes students, employees, or members of the community who have received recognition for academic or athletic achievement, or who have made significant contributions of any kind to the district. The following individuals tonight are going to be recognized, but first I'm going to have Trudy come up and talk a little bit about a program that's happening at the elementary school. Go ahead, Trudy. Thank you.
I know what happened. You couldn't say the last name.
I couldn't.
Happens every time.
I have one of those last names too.
The children at school always call me Trudy because they couldn't have me the last name. My name is Trudy Bullany, and I am a Sorority member here at the Sorority International Calistoga. It's a business and professional women's organization, and we do good deeds. And we have some members here with me tonight. Aaron kindly told me that we were being acknowledged. I am not here as me. I am here as the Read Aloud Partners coordinator, along with all these wonderful people. We've been running a program at Calistoga Elementary School for many, many years. I honestly can't remember when I started, probably back in the late 1990s when I started at the school coordinating mentor programs. But currently, there are 21 classrooms. Every class has a community reader who comes in and spends up to half an hour a week reading to kids. And the whole point is to bring the joy of books and reading to the children of Calistoga, letting them know that we out in the community love to read and we want to share it with them. So there are 21 classrooms. Everyone has a reader. If you're a reader, and there are some people sitting over here, would you please raise your hand if you read? Hi! Come on. Even Jeff, when it's Dr. Seuss's birthday on March 2nd, always comes in and reads. So don't be surprised if you get called for that again. So we have close to 500 kids in the school, so Optimus gives 3 book gifts every child during the year. We have one in the sort of fall time, one in the spring, and then one before summer. And the books come through the Optimus Club. When we had our fundraiser at the Big Crowd Fest 2 years ago, we made funding for books for the book program as a funding item. And in 10 minutes, our auctioneer raised $17,500 from the people sitting in that room for books for this program. So you can see how much the community is behind it. And I won't forget that we couldn't do it if it wasn't for the teachers and for the principal to say, come on in and do this. So Angus, who likes to read, so that's really the number of the program. We have our Optimus members here. Some of them are readers, some of them are just supporting the program. We also have readers who are community people. So thank you for being here because it's not me. I could go out and jump up and down, but plastic books, but there's another organization called firstbook.org. Firstbook.org has books that they give to us free, shipping costs only. They're 65 cents a book, and many of them are hardback books. We get cases of them, and then for the kindergarten and first graders, we get bilingual books for them, because we want to encourage the parents to read as well. So we figure if they get books in Spanish and English, the parents will likely to read them too. So that's it. That's what we do. And I think Julie might become a reader.
Yeah. I'm going to take on the fifth grade class.
Anyway, so thank you, and thank you for the support.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks to all of you. Nicole, sorry. Kind work. Nicole's going to get up and say
It's our first meeting. So the RAP program is truly a unique program. I have worked in other schools with programs to encourage reading. I think what is core to the Read Aloud Partners program is that it does really generate that sense of community, because you do have someone from the community coming into a classroom. It's the same person each time, and working with students. And so by the end of the year, the students really feel a connection to that person who comes and reads to them. And I think that also the teachers appreciate that relationship as well, because they then will work with the Read Aloud partner and get a sense of where students' interests are lying when they're choosing and selecting books. And so I think that is something that makes this program really unique and really special, because we do not have that happening in other schools. And I think it represents really the foundation of Calistoga in terms of our community involvement. It's been a real pleasure working with the Read Aloud Partners. I know sometimes I sub in and you come in and read, and the students are always excited to have the reader come in. And it's also been a great pleasure to work with Trudy as well, because she kind of keeps all of the schedules and reminds everyone about adjusted days, and everyone stays on the same page, so to speak.
Well, so I know that Trudy said this is not about her, but it kind of is about her. Thank you to all the Disruptionists for everything we do. Also the involvement in the high school with the girls that come and help, because my daughter's part of that. She's opposite. But what am I supposed to do? We just want to say thank you to you, because the volunteer effort is one thing, but the coordination, we all know, is really what it's at. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you. Okay. 5.1 is public business from the floor on non-agendized items. So this part of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the board on any item regarding board business that's not on the agenda. So without taking action or entering into any dialogue with the public, board members may briefly respond to statements made or ask clarifying questions about topics posed by the public. Your matter may be referred to administration, and individual speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. Did we have anything? Anybody? No? Okay. All right. So next, 6.1, we'll go into fun presentations, and one of our favorites is always John Tudor coming to tell us a little bit about the local assessment goals. Welcome.
Thank you very much. It's unusual for me to be called a fun presentation. When you're talking, I tell people sometimes when they come to the office and they don't have the homeowner's exemption, that I find that and I tell them they should get their homeowner's exemption, and I say, So you come to the assessors and you save $56.71. So,
And then they get it.
well, then they're happy. So let me just briefly give you a background on the assessment goal. I've been doing this this is my 33rd year as county assessor, and one of my most pleasurable times is coming to the local entities who do thrive from the property tax dollars generated in Madison County. We're very fortunate. We broke $41 billion this year, the first time over $40 billion. And it was the largest increase in assessed value in 53 years. So that, as our base gets bigger, no matter how big the increase is, our percentage doesn't go up as much as it would have years and years ago. But we're still averaging 8% a year in assessed value increase, including the downturn. And in one of those years, we had a 0.017% increase. But we were one of only 9 counties in 2010 that had any increase whatsoever. The other 49 counties all had an overall decrease in their assessment goal because of the Great Recession. We still have some lingering effects from the Great Recession. At one point, we had over 9% of our assessment goal, actually 9.5% in 2012, was below where it should have been because we had 12,000 properties in declining value status. Because my job is to be fair as the county assessor, so I don't care if the assessment's high or low as long as it's correct. And so as values went down, we lowered values for those 12,000 homeowners and businesses. Right now, we only have 2,000 properties still in declining value. Most of those are in the city of American Canyon and the city of Napa because that's where most of the housing is in the county. And let me just bring that down to Calistoga Unified itself. So in 2012, Calistoga Unified in 2010, Calistoga Unified had 5% of its assessment goal, or almost $85 million off the roll because of declines in value of the homes and businesses in Calistoga. Currently, I'm pleased to say, that number, instead of 5.11%, is 0.35%. And only $10 million is still off the roll, instead of $70 million that were off the roll just 9 years ago. So I think it's very important to realize that the healthy growth we've had in that county, and of course with the new resorts coming in, Calistoga Unified School District, the county as a whole had a 6.58% increase. Calistoga Joint Unified had a 9.95%. And the city of Calistoga actually had a 14% increase because of the new construction going on at those resorts. So when the population decided that they were doing more into the resort business, it did turn out to be some benefits. You'll see if there's some counter side to that, as traffic and employment and all of those things come down. But that's in the future still, since neither of the resorts is open. The final thing I wanted to say was just to let you know that I'm available at any time for questions or comments about the assessment goal. And one of the reasons I've come is to explain to you, for those of you who are reading the course since I've been here, I don't understand school finance. I've been doing this 33 years, I still don't understand school finance. There are about 3 people in the state of California who understand school finance. Unfortunately, one of those is Barbara Menko and her team at the County Office of Education. I've always described it as you take the assessed value and Barbara Menko and Tracy Schultz, the auditor controller, put on tall skinny hats and stand around a big cauldron and they throw in eye of meat and toe of frog, and out comes whatever revenue Calistoga Joint Unified School District. So that's about as much as they can explain about it. And when Maureen asked me to come tonight, I explained that I usually come as a dog and pony show, and I also do because I usually come with someone from Barbara Menko's office, and then they take over and explain how your actual revenues come out of that pot. But I think they'll be here next week, next month, actually next week, and the month after that. So finally, I just wanted to mention two things. Putting my registrar of voters hat on is to remind you that the board will hold its next election for several of its members in November of 2020, which is more than a year away, but as an elections official, we plan ahead. And then, of course, one thing I do want to mention, one for your audience members mentioned the census. I'm hoping the school is working closely with the city and the Departmento's office. It's vital that we get every resident in Minnesota and in the Unified School District county. And Mary Brewer is the assistant county executive officer. She's heading the committee to do that. So I don't know if Aaron or would want to just get in touch with her or to make sure that we're going to do whatever you can through your newsletter, your contact with your parents and your students to get everyone counted in April of 2020 in the census. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, I just have a silly question.
Now, there's
Sorry
no
if it's
silly
going to be
question.
silly.
Only
So that
the-
first figure you gave us, that is for all the real property in all of Napa County?
That's right.
Okay.
And for yours, well, that's not a silly question. Let me
No,
break that
that's
down.
interesting.
Let me break
I mean, that might have
down
been obvious, but
to
that's.
your school district. So your assessed value went up, as I said, almost 10%. So we had a $2.6 billion increase. You had a $253 million increase. And you are now at $2.796 billion for the Unified School District. Now, I don't rank the school districts in order of quality, only in order of assessed value. So, of course, the Napa Valley Unified School District is almost $28 billion. San Luis Unified is almost $10 billion, and then we come in at almost $2.8 billion. So those are your figures. One other thing I did want to point out, now that you asked, is that Napa County, on a per capita basis, because we're still a small county with about 140,000 residents, we rank fourth in the state of California in assessed value per capita. San Francisco jumped to number 1, Marin is number 2, San Mateo is number 3, and Napa is number 4 out of the 50 counties. And it's amazing that all 4 of those counties are in the Bay Area.
I'm surprised Santa Clara County is not there.
No, well, they're big, but they also
Not
have
per
a lot
capita.
of people.
Right.
They're the largest county in terms of population, so it dilutes the assessment. They have a huge role, which is the dollars, of course, at the same time as well. So they don't bring in the assessed value per capita. That's something that translates into the quality of life for all the workers.
Interesting. Thank you so much.
Not at all.
Any more questions? Good? Thank you. Perfect. And got it, Chris, because I was thinking that's not working. You could just hand them the one that Will has. So now we go on to 6.2, Joel Kramer, summer school principal, which is such a noble thing to do for us during the summer, to give his report on how it all went.
Testing 1, 2.
Trainer.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Testing 3, 4. Test. 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 All right, speak really loud. This is a small recording.
Don't mind. Use my hair.
Test. Test. It's just me. It's just Testing, testing. There we go. All right. It's my pleasure to introduce Joel Kramer. It was really great to see Joel this summer switch hats between classroom teacher and site administrator. We worked extremely well with the site secretary, with our teachers, with our classified staff, students and their families. I would describe his approach as positive and professional. And he'll share detailed information about the program. I think overall it was very well run. It was a smooth summer program, and he deserves a lot of credit. So Joel, thank you very much, and it's yours.
Thanks so much for having me today. It was a really good program, so thanks for inviting me in to speak today. So, as usual, our summer school focus was, we had an elementary and junior high program, and both of those were focused on looking for students who could use additional reading, writing, mathematics, ELD support, as well as helping them get set up for the next school year and also reduce any of the summer lag that they may have. As far as high school, we had two different options happening. Many students were needing to recover classes or make up credit, so we had two options for them. One was teacher-led, and that was Ben Hartel. He did some ELA. And then we had Heather Brooks doing APEX, which was the online credit recovery program. Same school hours as years prior. Basically for elementary, we had 8:30 to 12:30, and that was Monday through Thursday. Junior high was 8:30 to 1:15, and that was 5 days a week. And high school was 8 a.m. to 1:15, and that was also 5 days a week. Some of the high school students were here for half the day because we split up the day into sections based on what they needed to recover. Some students were here for the full day. All right, taking a look at the attendance for the basically 19 total days where students were on campus, a little bit less for the junior high and elementary. 180 initially enrolled and didn't drop down too much, but 19 students were enrolled at the end. Looking at the weekly attendance, I was really happy about that. It's summer, so sometimes it's hard to get students coming through the door. But they really came through. So we had basically between 86 and 90% of the students coming on an average day. I was really happy about that. A lot of that had to do with Marcy, site secretary, was fantastic. She would call for any absence or students who were late, check in with the parents. So we also had a lot of communication with students so they knew what the expectations were as far as attendance go, and they really did a great job. Alrighty, testing progress. So most of the teachers used a math inventory and a reading inventory as a pre and post test. There was a few teachers, especially in the early elementary, who weren't set up. The kids were not set up for math and reading. They hadn't taken it prior, so they did their own assessment. And as you can see, we had first, second, we had some big growth in phonics and math. For 3, 4, we had some more increases in math, facts, and reading. Small decrease for grades 5 and 6. We can chat about that in a moment. Junior high, we had really high score as far as increase on the math, and nice for the block 2. So they had 2 sections of that one, and then we had small decrease for English 7th grade and 8th, and then the ELD was a 2% decrease. So, being a teacher most of the year, kind of look at what would be considered an increase or decrease. Why would that have happened? We had one. You look at the 5th, 6th, or no, the junior high. We had a 35% increase. I'd like to think that that was all because of summer school, and I think some of it was, but that might be a little bit on the high end, and that for that same reasoning, we had a small decrease in a couple of classes, and usually you find that over the year or over these inventories and assessments, they kind of even out over the year. So my guess would be we did have an increase over the summer, but my take on it would be the increase was somewhere between here, instead of here and here, more like in the middle between the increase and the decrease. But overall, as a school, during the summer, we did have percentage increases in both math and ELA, so I was happy about that. Progress reports, another way of keeping the kids and the students accountable. Is about halfway through, we went ahead and checked in with all the teachers. That's elementary all the way through high school. Any students who weren't reaching their full potential or progressing how we felt like they should, progress reports were sent home as well as handed to the students. Felt like that was important to do. That way, especially with the high school, with credit recovery, if anything was not up to par or they didn't actually recover the credit, it wouldn't be news to them. So it's just a good way of communicating with the students, the families, and the staff as far as progress. Credit recovery, as I said, Ben Hartel did the English 9-10, and about 3/4 of the students finished the program with a passing score. And as far as the high school Apex, which was the online program, 37 students recovered a total of 73 credits, which was a really high number. Okay, celebrations. Again, I can't just, beyond what's up on the screen there, I can't say enough about how great our district and board and staff and teachers and everybody involved. It's a super team, teamwork across the board. So I was happy to be part of the team, so we had a lot of things to celebrate. Again, overall improvement in math and reading for the post-test scores. Very, very, very few elementary, middle, and high school discipline issues. That was awesome. Food program, and it's amazing what those guys do in there. I mean, they were serving hundreds of meals per day, if you count the breakfast and the lunches, and they're just so great to work with and so easy to, coordinate with. So they were super, super awesome. Again, organized professional staff. There were some staff that were from out of district. They were great, as well as the ones here in the district. CDS, school site, worked very well. I thought it was intimate, small site, worked well for the group. So comparison to last year, as far as kind of data here, this year we had 37 students successful in recovering Apex credits this summer. Last summer that was 12. So we're talking, almost three times or more. So we had a lot of students recovering those high school credits, which is going to help them tremendously. As far as total number of high school credits, this year we had 104 credits recovered. Last year was 64. So again, I was really happy to see that students were taking advantage. They were working super hard, and the reward is they get those extra credits to help them. Another celebration would be average weekly attendance went up. I showed you those stats earlier. Again, it was between 86 and 90% each week. Last summer was pretty decent, but still lower, 78 to 84. So it was a pretty nice little jump as far as the weekly attendance. Room for improvement. There's always things to look at and try to, improve on for next year. Currently, there's a group of rising 9th graders, so students who just graduated from junior high. it would be nice if we found a spot for them in junior, or in the summer school program. There was a few, but I would like to see that opened up to that group, and I think it would really help the students as they move into high school.
I have a question. Why wasn't there room for them already?
You know, that's a great question. That was kind of put in place years back. I'm not 100% sure why that was there, but it is something that I think should be addressed.
I totally agree. I mean, this is why we have summer school, so these kids can catch up on deficiencies. Why weren't they allowed? And
I think what happened was, my guess would be, because high school, summer school usually relates to credit recovery, and the students who are coming into high school haven't yet the need to recover any credit. So I think that's probably why it started. But again, I do think that it could be a pretty quick fix.
I mean, this is a very important issue district-wide, because these kids weren't allowed into summer school, and now they are suffering the repercussions of their misplaced attention during school time. Where they would have been afforded, if they were allowed summer school, to make up some of these credits that they should have made up in class time but weren't. But yet other kids are allowed this, and so these kids are starting out with one foot in the hole, so to speak. You know?
We're actually looking at redesigning the summer program for next year to also include aim high and directing it towards middle school kids.
Awesome.
Those extra services.
And for this deficiency, which is a district deficiency, not having room for these kids in summer school, we should allow some concessions for them. Where instead of punishing them for where in most schools they get a clean slate coming into high school, we don't offer that clean slate. And I think we should address these issues.
We're not allowed to clean slate for sports.
Yeah, but if they were allowed at summer school, they might have been able to become eligible. That's the point I'm trying to.
I think it's totally doable to fill that hole this coming year.
Awesome.
As far as, let's see, next thing that can be improved upon, this is from Heather Brooks. She had hoped to be here today, and this is just a recommendation that she had. She did an awesome, fantastic job keeping track of what classes students needed. So she was running the high school Apex online credit recovery program. So she was able to get full access to all student transcripts, so once she got that, she was able to kind of cross-reference student, their grades, as well as what classes were available online to help students best plug those holes. So she had requested that I kind of make a statement for her saying that she would love to see all junior and senior high teachers be given the feature, not necessarily to adjust any of the transcripts, but to simply have access to view those transcripts, so those teachers could figure out how to best kind of carve the path for their students and help support them basically in any way possible without being restricted. So she had said if we could consider opening up that access to junior and senior high, she think it would be a huge help. And based on summer school, I think I would agree with her. Okay, just a couple more.
Why wouldn't that be allowed?
That's a site procedure that we can implement, something they can discuss at the school.
Awesome.
Okay, this year, fantastic, the district approved an extra school site day for the principal, as well as 2 extra days for the secretary, which really helped a lot. Thinking ahead to next year, a couple of extra substitute dates were prior to summer school, where the principal and the secretary could meet, get substitutes that day and actually meet together to kind of coordinate and plan. There's just a lot of logistics and organization, and just the more face time and the more opportunities to collaborate before summer school starts is really important, and is worth considering. And then the last thing, there was a handful of students who did leave summer school a bit early, mostly in the elementary. So I just put a quick note in there saying, if students aren't going to plan on participating in the entire summer school session, that they would respectfully pass and open that to another student. There was a few students that left after about 10 days, which was unfortunate because it would take a few bits of learning from that. So, anyway, thanks so much. You're gonna come up. All right, thanks for having me, and thanks for all the support.
Thank you, Joel.
Thank you, Joe.
Following summer school, we sent a survey out to all the staff, classified and certificated, who participated to get their feedback on how it went, and we'll look at it. And the first question was, overall, how well was the summer school planned and facilitated? And all but one staff member gave that a 4, and 4 was the highest, so not the lowest, 4 was the highest. That was given. And were you supported in your role as summer school staff member? You had the tools you needed to do the job? Concerns were heard, and that's 100%. I'm sure a lot of that had to do with Joel and his role as support instead of administrator. How effective was summer school in terms of supporting student learning? As far as the feedback from the staff, they felt it was an effective venue for student learning, all but 2 and a level of 4. So it's nice to have some feedback as part of the process. Beyond that, there was also some written feedback, most of which echoed kind of that sentiment, but there was some constructive feedback, which is always good to pay attention to. And one of those was giving thought to how we address student motivation. When you cluster a group of students that have an academic need together in the summer, there's the potential to have an issue that needs to be addressed with regards to motivation. So there was some thought around what we do beyond the classroom to address that. Correct course offerings. Students that express wanting to learn about different things. How do we find a way to get students the courses they need? Specific intervention curriculum. We know that students in summer school have an academic need. Should we be using the same curriculum as we are during the year, or should we look for different curriculum? So those are interesting ideas on constructive feedback. We know that the issue around 8th grade service is an issue. It's historically how it was set up. Doesn't mean it's not how it needs to be. I think it's something we need to address. If we keep the same summer school format, we'll have to look at staffing, or we could do something different. But all students need to have access to summer school. And just because it came up, I will mention, the way that Aries has always been set up is that teachers only have access to their students' grades. We are doing some different things with Data Zone, which I'll talk about a little later tonight, but we have a new digital tool that we're rolling out, and it will shift our culture, because teachers will have access to the grades of students throughout their day, throughout their career. And it'll be a shift, and it will require some trust for us to be able to see what's happening with the student throughout their entire experience, but it is the right thing to do, and make sure that we all have all the information on how to support our kids. So that'll happen. That's already happened, maybe not in Aries, but in a different platform called Data Zone. So teachers already will have that access. Overall, summer school was a success. I think even better than last year in terms of attendance and student performance. We really thank Joel. He was spot on in year 2, and so thank you, Joel, for your service. And then we look forward to next year, whether it's the same format or we look to do something even greater and different. Thank you.
Did you say it was year 2 for him?
Yes.
Year 2, right, Joel? Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking almost maybe it was year 3. I think the combination of Joel being a solid fixture and doing such a great job with your support is just going to get better and better every year.
Yeah, and we have some return teachers too, which is really helpful.
Yeah.
So we have some teachers that are teaching summer school multiple years, so they know what to expect and they're getting better at it. And I do think the teachers that we brought in from outside were really exemplary as well. We added some folks to our program from outside the organization.
I would agree with Jolie that to have Joel there second year, hopefully third year, the continuity of the program expanding, I think it's a good thing.
Thanks for taking your summer time. Appreciate that. Thanks.
I also want to thank Joel for his support to the programs that were done through the Family Center, and also for migrant education. I think those are the extra things that we provide to the students in the district, and he was always there making sure that we have everything we needed. So thank you.
Thanks. Okay. So 7.1 is board self-evaluation. So the board self-evaluations were completed by individual trustees,
And then the results were averaged and compiled into one document, and that was all part of the packet. So I think at this point, I just would open it up to you five to see if there's anything that you wanted to talk about regarding that. I think everybody got a chance to review it. Any questions? My only comment is perhaps we can relook at that document for next year, because I think it could be a little bit better.
The actual instrument?
Yeah.
Certainly do that.
All right, great. And that's that. 7.2, board policies and administrative regulations, first reading. Do you want me to read anything?
Pardon, please.
Okay. The following board policies and administrative regulations are presented for a first reading in order to reflect current laws, regulations, and district. We are reviewing the complaints concerning district employees, board policy, complaints concerning instructional materials, uniform complaint procedures, Williams uniform complaint procedures, and Title I programs, as well as education for English learners, uniform complaint procedures.
So we're doing things a little bit differently tonight. The protocol, typically I would bring a policy to you for first read, and then you would not see the policy again until the next board meeting where you would actually consider it for approval. However, because the federal program monitoring review timelines, I'm presenting it tonight for first read, and then later on in the meeting, I'm actually going to ask you to take action on those policies.
Questions? I'm sure everybody read them thoroughly. Okay, perfect.
Most of those particular policies are law, so there's not a lot of
Wiggling. Okay, then we can move on to reports. 8.1, principal's report at the elementary school, Nicole.
Well, good evening, everyone. I feel like it's a new year and first report of the year. So this year, with our instructional calendar, we restructured how we did our professional development days. So the majority of the site professional development days actually happen before school. And so at Calistoga Elementary, our teachers went through training on professional learning communities and response to intervention. And it was very positively received. Professional learning communities is when grade level teachers come together, they look at a common goal, they review assessments, and they formulate a next step of where they're going to be going with supporting students. A response to intervention is looking at what your students know and what are they able to do, and looking at what we do for students who are struggling in an area. Also, what do we do for students who have met the standard or exceeded the standard? And so some of this was like a recalibration, because we have had teachers meeting in professional learning communities on Wednesdays. And others of it was looking with a new lens at the practices we're doing to support our students. Then we followed up with support in restorative circles. And again, we have a lot of success in that area. We reviewed our discipline data. We are continuing to address the suspension levels, so we're pretty excited to look at our data from last year. And then finally, today we had a math articulation day, and that was through the UC Davis Math Project. And that was supported by Napa Learns, and we had 4 elementary teachers and 4 secondary teachers come together and look at mathematics instruction and how to support our students. I think it was positively received, and it's giving us a lot of opportunity for further vertical articulation. Then for our students, and I submitted this report saying that we had gotten the rules rodeo complete. There was a snag in the plan. We still have grades 5 and 6 to go, but regardless, we got our rules rodeo done earlier this year than we ever have gotten it done. And so the rules rodeo is we go through specific areas on the playground and go over what expected and unexpected behavior would be. And then for our parent engagement, we are going to continue with our parent engagement each month. We have narrowed down the topics. We are changing though, it used to be the first Friday of the month, it's now going to be the third Friday of the month. And we're going to actually start it a little bit earlier, and we're going to try to start in the multi-purpose room because we're hoping that we might be able to get a few more parents involved. And we also have a committee dedicated to parent engagement as well, and so that'll be bringing teachers into the conversation as well. I am very excited that Lawrence Hall of Science is going to be coming on October 8th for an evening presentation, so I'm going to start soliciting volunteers from our parent community to help facilitate those stations. We need about 21 parent volunteers. And then finally, last week on Thursday was our back to school night. I've not had a chance to count up how many parents we had there. It did seem well attended. I know I was doing some translation work. Mr. Valenzuela was doing some translation work. And we had our first Title I meeting as well, and we had 18 parents come to that. So it was wonderful to see how well organized our teachers were in presenting the structures and the routines and the procedures of their class and how to reach them, and classroom management. And many of our teachers actually grouped together by grade so that they could provide translation for the families. So that is what's going on at Calistoga Elementary.
Good evening, everyone. This is my first board report for Calistoga, so this is a different format, but I'm excited to be here. Looking at LCAP goal number 1 in terms of ensuring academic excellence for all students, we started off the year with 2 days of staff development focused on restorative practices, where our staff was able to really see firsthand how to do restorative circles. And it was, it was very well-utilized time because we ended up having an opportunity as a staff to then practice restorative circles because the staff wanted to have a conversation about issues that were going on in our school and ways to try and address those issues. So we took that process and we used that process to really come up with meaningful conversations and a meaningful plan moving forward. And then our first day that we were together as a staff, it was actually a pretty enjoyable day. I thought it was a lot of information that we gave out to teachers, but we ended up breaking it up with little fun activities and icebreaker activities to get to know each other better and create this cohesive team that we're working together for the best interests of our students. But we took on issues such as we looked at our WASC update and looked at, because this is a very important year for us for WASC. We looked at having the avid focus note-taking as a staff, using that as a systemic process. And then we also took a data dive and looked at with Monica Baldenegro and Alex Andrew that guided us through our inventory scores and looking at that ways to better serve our students again. And then the next day, right before school started, I invited the staff to come out and do some welcoming messages, and you could still see them out there on the sidewalk. They went out there as a staff, and we did some welcoming messages to our students with shock, just another opportunity to work together as a staff, but also to think of our students first. And then the theme that I put out to my staff for the year, being that I drive from Santa Rosa and there's a lot of construction, and so I wanted to be something as a reminder for staff as we see this construction coming throughout the area, that when we're driving to work, we could think, construction. So our theme for the year is building a better future for every student every day. So being that we see construction, we can think of building, and we come to work and put our best efforts for our students, because our students definitely deserve the best of us. In terms of the goal number 2, providing a safe, healthy, and positive school environment, Ms. Montenegro and I did presentations to all the students in terms of the expectations that we have in going through the student handbook. That is part of their agenda that we give out every year. But we made a concerted effort to really focus on that. We're expecting students to be nice and respectful to each other and be safe with each other, but also to keep an eye on each other, right? To be that this is a community of learning that we have. And keeping in mind also our student learning outcomes that are really embedded with our WASP process. So making sure that the students also understand this WASP process and be part of that process itself. And then in terms of goal number 3, increasing parent engagement, I've had multiple meetings with community members and parent groups. We have our back to school night coming up on Thursday, so I'm looking forward to a great turnout for that. But also, you know, Nicole was talking about switching the dates from the first Friday. That's because I put out a letter inviting parents to come have coffee with me, and it was the first Friday. It was also the first Friday that she had selected.
That's too awkward.
So now there's a couple opportunities, and the first one was this last Friday, and I had 2 parents show up, and I wanted to test it out first before I start really, because I only had a small little coffee pot with 12 cups of coffee, and I was a little worried that I would run out of coffee. But now I know from this first meeting that next month when I do this, I really need to put a stronger effort in announcing it to parents and reminding them of this opportunity. So looking forward to back to school night, and looking forward to a successful event for that. I also wanted to touch a little bit on what Nicole mentioned about the Math Articulation Day. And I really wanted to thank Nicole for really going after this grant and allowing our staff, or basically our math department, to participate. Because working together with the elementary, which I heard they hadn't done that in a while, but it really gives them that opportunity to look at collective learning that goes on from the kindergarten to throughout high school. And using also the same languages, so that when students come to our school, they're using the same language that have been used in the elementary school. So thank you, Nicole, and thank you for the math department that participated in that. And just, you know, we also will swing with our fall sports, and that's really busy time. But it's also an important time for our students. This is, for many students, you know, sports is a great place that they find a place to belong, and hopefully we use that to increase their academics and to stay focused on their schooling. But I also just wanted to say thank you to all the staff and the people that work really hard in this district. And I just want to thank everybody for the welcoming that I've had. And just from the office staff to the teachers, they work very hard and all, again, focused on doing the best job for students.
I just have to say thank you for being out front every morning welcoming us, and I get in trouble because we're a little bit late sometimes. But also, I don't think I've ever been more proud of a team in the 8 years that I've been on this board. I'm feeling so positive and excited about everybody's presentation, so thank you. Also, you guys now, when you're talking about collaboration, that's so amazing, because we have a unique opportunity where we only have one elementary school feeding into one high school, so the collaboration between you two could be so great and so effective. That's exciting.
I wasn't going to mention that, Julie, but yes, I do tell parents, like, hey, you're late, and then I didn't know Julie was one of them.
No, it's good. It's all to be accountable. Thank you. Nothing else. Okay. Sorry, I lost track of where we're at. Principals report. So, student representatives report. We are going to welcome Miss Alexa Casares, our new student representative, who's a junior at the high school, and she's off the hook tonight. She doesn't need to do any report unless you have one. Otherwise, we're just going to welcome you to the school board and ask you if you have any questions or...
Well, no questions. It was just nice to meet all of you. I do recognize many of you from like walking around the campus, and it's nice to actually formally meet you now. And I just wanted to say that I'm truly honored to be a part of this team now, And I plan on taking these responsibilities very seriously because I know that a lot of students depend on me to get their opinions heard. And I plan on doing everything I can to make sure that everyone in the school feels included and to try and make the experience better for them. So thank you so much for having me.
Well, welcome.
Did you want to say something? And then 8.4, Director of Facilities and Maintenance and Operations Report, Mr. Chris. This is my favorite one because you talk about all the stuff you did in the summer, which is usually so amazing.
So we'll go over, a lot of this is from the summer, basically all that's from the summer. Was 2 months really felt like 2 weeks. It seemed like all of a sudden, 1 week they're graduating, the next week they're coming back to school. But we did get a pretty good amount done. Apparently I should have included an evaluation of the AV system in this room, but hopefully we'll get that taken care of. So some of the big things we did this summer were district cameras at both sites. We had 2 of our Prop 39 projects. We had a few site improvements. I have just a few bigger ones to mention. We did a lot, but I just pulled out a few that were a little bigger than most. And then just a quick rundown of our work orders throughout the year and events, just to kind of see how busy it gets sometimes. So at the elementary school, we ended up with 44 camera views. Some of the cameras are one view, some of the cameras have 270-degree views, so it definitely has been a good, just so far looking at it, using it, and when situations have come up, the coverage is really good. I haven't ran into any really blind spots have been an issue. Same with the high school, we have 49 total camera views. That includes some of the ones we had here already inside the gym, the MP room, and the wood shop. The coverage here has been good. Haven't had any problems. One function that's new for this system is a parent search, which has been really helpful. You can, if you see in the bottom left, there's images, you can barely see some red triangle around. And if you click on that, it'll ask you if you want to see appearances before that or after that. And it does a pretty good job of distinguishing that person and then showing you different camera views of where they've seen them. So that's good to help track, if you're really looking for something. If somebody's too far away to identify, you can still search for like a shirt color, hair color, and stuff like that. And it kind of helps you narrow down what camera is going to give you a better view of that person's face. So that's been helpful. We also now have remote access on our phones, on our computer, we can access them at any point. The app on the phone is really handy. It doesn't have all the functionality, but when something comes up, it's nice to be able to look at it. You can see recorded views and take snapshots and stuff like that. We did do a couple more card readers. This time was at the elementary school, similar to the ones that we have here in the MP room, but we did the CS MP room in the library, eventually to help for after hours use or outside use. If they don't need a setup, then there's no need to find somebody to come in on Saturday and set up or to open the doors and close the doors when we can either program the door to open or give them an electronic key that only works during that time period. So we haven't had a chance to use that yet, but I'm sure it'll come.
Does it have facial recognition?
Not the card readers, they're the fobs, basically. With
the cameras.
The cameras, well, they recognize the image as a whole. They don't focus on the face. There are some, there is just a generic appearance search where you can search hair color, shirt color, pant color, male or female type thing. It does a pretty good job. It's not 100% every time. A lot of the views that come back are just people who look like that. But I mean, for the most part, it's a big improvement over the cameras previously, where you'd have to spend a whole lot of time, searching for this person and then finding what camera they went to. And then we didn't have that many cameras, so I'd hope that they went from the gym past the MP, and it's much better now, much easier to work with. And then we have Palisades is going to get cameras as well on the exterior. The equipment is ordered. I'm thinking that by October, the installation will start. It should be a pretty quick installation, maybe a couple of days. And the teacher over there is fine with us doing it during school hours, as she said. They're only going to need to come in real quick to set up the equipment, and then everything else is outside work, so it should be good.
Chris, tell me a little bit about who has access.
Right now, just me and 2 site principals and Aaron.
Is there any functionality in terms of when like campus is empty, everybody's in class, if someone's moving around? Is there any kind of, just curious.
If somebody wanted to monitor the cameras, they can see that. One nice thing is in that image there, you can see where there's a red line and a blue line at the bottom. So the blue line is when the cameras aren't picking up motion. They go, in order to have a long period of recording, so we have like 2 weeks to a month worth of records if something comes up. The cameras minimize their frames per second when there's no motion. So the blue, when you're looking at it when it's blue, it's a little bit fuzzy, you can't quite see stuff, but as soon as they're moving, it turns red. And that's where you can, so if you wanted to see what movement took place, you can also search movement. I mean, you look at, in that image, you can highlight an area in the corner green if you just want to see movement in the top corner, or moving by a door, moving by a certain area. But if they want to see who's moving around between classes, they can just, you don't even have to go through all the footage, you can just look at that line at the bottom to see, okay, there was movement here, who was walking around. Otherwise, if it's blue, it just means there was nothing going on. And then for Prop 39, we did 2 of our projects. The exterior fixtures at the elementary school, we had already taken care of those here at the high school back in 16. We did a total of 83 fixtures. The watt reduction is 2,839 watts, so basically a lot of the lights were 42 or 50 watts, and they got replaced with 9-watt LEDs, so it should be a nice reduction in energy consumption. We also did district-wide thermostats. These thermostats are fully remote controlled, so we can, before it was, it would have been nice to be able to go into classrooms and change, during a vacation, change the schedule and all that stuff. That would be going through every single classroom, and then when people got back that morning, they would have to go in and turn them back on. So now we can just schedule whatever we want. There's multiple schedules within schedules. It's a much more efficient way to keep costs down. So on the weekends, the units will only turn on if it's over 85. But if a teacher comes in on the weekend, they can make an adjustment to the thermostat, and it'll remain how they set it until the next scheduled change. So it works pretty good. And then we also get notifications if, say, the room's calling for 72 and it hasn't been able to get lower than 75, it sends a notification. A lot of times that's just as soon as they have the door open. But it's helpful to kind of catch stuff before we get a call. And then with the cameras, sometimes I can look and see, well, you got the door open. One other nice thing about it, it's got an optimum start function for starting in the morning. Before, if you program the thermostat, you kind of have to guess, like, well, we want it to be 70 degrees by 7 a.m., so we should probably just turn on at 6 and give it plenty of time. It learns how long each unit takes to start up. So if I want it to be 70 degrees in here at 7, the unit will start itself when it'll go based on outside temperatures or whatever information it uses to not start at 6 and run the whole time, but start when it needs to make that. So. And then we do have some remaining funds. As soon as all the other 2 projects are completely closed out, we'll know exactly how much, but there's some fairly inexpensive LED retrofit kits that they sell to replace the 4-foot fluorescent light fixtures. It's basically a matter of pulling out the old fixture or the old bulbs and ballast. You use the existing fixture as a magnetic LED strip that goes in its place to install the driver. Really, it takes like 15 minutes per light, and it's a big reduction too, about 60% reduction in wattage. We did it in the wood shop just because I wanted to see what it would look like, because I was a little concerned that it might be a big drastic change from the normal kind of yellow color to a more bright white, but it works pretty good. So I think once we find out how many funds we got, we'll decide how many classes we can do, which ones would be the most effective. then some of the site improvements we did buy some furniture for a few classrooms. Classroom 18 and at the elementary school got a new table. She really wanted to keep her chairs, so all we did was replace the chairs that she had that were in bad shape with new ones. The tennis courts just got resurfaced today. That bottom right-hand picture shows one shot. It's hard to get a good view of it, but I think they turned out great, really good. They'll open up tomorrow morning. And then boys' locker room was in pretty bad shape paint-wise, so the guys painted that as well as the junior high restroom. And actually, the girls' restroom has quotes and stuff that they didn't want to get rid of, so it was actually just the boys' restroom that got painted. It's hard to see what that says. The playground mulch, we can't really access the site with tractor trailers too often, so it's hard to bring in big amounts of mulch. So there's a company called Jet Mulch that will shoot it in, and they can shoot up to 300 or 400 feet from the playground. So they pulled up in the front, and they shot 250 cubic yards of clay material. And really, it was, I mean, we were holding up, but really it should have been much higher. And once I found this company and we had the funds to do it, really turned out good. We did one classroom in Linoleum, and CS room 27 had a pretty bad seam tear, so we replaced that. And then the riverbank repair, which was a big relief. I was worried that would be going on during the start of the school year, and big thanks to Environmental Science Associates as well as Hanford Arc, the construction company, because they were on the agencies really pushing them, and Hanford Arc just held on until we had the okay, and they were ready to roll. And they finished it on Monday, the 19th, so just in the nick of time. And then just a quick overview of our work orders. We had 656 work orders total from July 1st to June 30th, and completed 638 so far. Previous year was 609, so that was a big jump. Events jumped up as well, 86 for this year, 75 for last year. And I explained before that events could be anything from just setting up couple chairs to a whole graduation event. So there's no real way to determine the magnitude of it, but it's still a lot of events. And then just a quick rundown of the work order trends just to kind of see where they jump up and where they go up. I'm always thinking like we'll be able to, things will slow down in a week or two and we'll be able to get some of this side work done. And looking at this, it's like, well, not really, because there's always more work orders coming in. So. Any questions?
So the city shared in the cost, right, for the tennis courts?
Yeah, they did. I don't remember the percentage.
2/3, 1/3. They paid 2/3.
Oh, good, because they use it the most.
Yeah, they do, for sure.
We appreciate the partnership.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, that's good. I just want to say thank you because you get so much done and you stay on top of everything, and everything's done before the school year because you stay on it. So.
Thanks, it helps to have a really good staff. They run.
And now you're not going to get my text, hey, the air conditioner's running at the elementary school.
I hope not. If it means somebody went in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
More questions on that? Thank you.
Nicely done, Chris, thanks.
Thanks. 8.5, Michael.
All right. So we had a great launch to the year this year. As Nicole mentioned, we did something a little different with our non-instructional days. Out of the 5 non-instructional days, we placed 4 of them prior to the student start. And I think it worked out very well. It allowed us to spend multiple days on important topics. So we could spend two consecutive days on RTI and PLC at the elementary school, and 2 consecutive days on restorative practice at the secondary. We had a district designated day that had a variety of topics and items. I'd say the highlight was actually the team building that was facilitated by the County Office of Education. It was awesome, and it was great to see K-12 teachers from all our sites having fun together, working together. The facilitation was really great. It was a great way to start our day. We did a refresher training on race communication and introduced staff to their staff web pages, and thank you to Paula for facilitating that. And our staff web pages are already starting to take shape. And we trained our staff in ReadySub, which is our new sub-finder and absence management platform. We had 2 publishers here to train our teachers who are participating in the K-8 science pilot. And then the County Office of Ed brought a team to work with our staff on data. data culture and introduced Data Zone, which is a new tool. Data Zone is a web-based tool that brings all our data to one spot. So discipline data, student performance data, attendance data, so staff don't have to go to multiple places, it's all there. And if staff want to run a report, they want to triangulate that data, they can do it in one spot. But it's a new tool, and it will take some training. We had a site-based day with our staff and their administrators. We did a staff survey as a follow-up. It was very positive feedback, and staff felt that the time was productive, and they felt that the trainings were effective. There was also some constructive feedback, and we take that to improve our future PD. I'm very pleased that the trainings were, I would say, very LCAP aligned. You know, we want to accomplish so much, and it can be easy to lose sight of your goals, but I'd say that everything we did on those 4 days was LCAP aligned and designed to achieve what we wanted to. I can also provide an update on ReadySub. So this is our ReadySub management system, and we're fully transitioned over, so no more paper absence forms. 100% of our absences this school year have been filled through ReadySub or put into ReadySub. Most absences are getting filled in 10 to 15 minutes. And I think it's a kind of unexpected sense of competition that's happening with our subs. So in the past, the site secretary would reach out and make a personal gesture, and the person would say, okay, I'm going to think about that a little bit. And I think now when it's online, they know if I don't take this job, someone else is going to get it. So we're averaging 10 to 15 minutes. We've had 100% of our absences filled. We have absences filled out to as far as April for some of our future PD. And it's pretty much eliminated the overtime and extra work from our site secretaries. I don't know that it will go away completely. I think at some point they're going to need that time when they're pitching. But by and large, at this point, there's been no extra work or overtime for sub-5. So it's about as smooth a roll-up as we could have hoped for, and I'm pretty excited about it. It's gone well, and I think it's going to quickly be just part of how we do business. I did have math articulation day on my report. I think it was pretty well covered by our site administrators. I will just add, this was one of 4 days, so we've got 3 more days of good work ahead. Anytime you can put K-12 teachers in the room together, it's a good thing. When we can get our teachers at the elementary and secondary level planning, there's a benefit. It's even more beneficial when you can bring in that outside expert who brings expertise to lead the conversations. Exciting stuff that's happening in regards to that.
Okay, I have to say something.
Yeah.
You're the data guy, and I love it. It makes my heart sing. I love that you survey and evaluate everything and get good feedback. That's awesome. Next, we have Maureen.
Okay, I have a couple of quick updates to share. The property transfer that was approved by the County Committee for School District Reorganization back in June. It was the Cook-Mora transfer. We had a few board meetings about it. That is currently being taken care of at the county level. They have to do a bunch of things before we can send the final approval up to CDE. So right now, County of Napa, and John is a big part of that, John who was here earlier, John Tweeder. The County of Napa is redrawing the district boundaries, and they are preparing the legal description of all the territory transfers. And they have to do a description for each area of taxes, voting, and trustee areas for the Board of Trustees, and because that will all change for St. Helena. And us too, I guess. What happens next? The changes for property taxes go into effect 2021. So we have a year before they actually start paying property taxes to St. Helena versus Calistoga. The election division is going to update their precincts for the November 20 election. So as of that time, they'll be voting in St. Helena. And then currently all the procedures that need to be followed by CDE are being followed, and we need to file a formal notice with the State Board of Equalization by December 1st. In email discussions with legal counsel and County of Napa, we don't see any reason why that can happen. Master Plan Facilities Update. Schoolworks, who is our company that we're working with to do our master plan, we're here on August 26th and 27th. They spent 2 days in the district assessing all of the needs of the district for facilities and fields. Currently, there's a steering committee that's being put together. It's made up of the superintendent, Chris, our MOT, site principals, teacher reps, classified reps, community members, and board members. The committee is going to meet and provide input and suggestions for the master plan. And the first meeting was tentatively scheduled for September 19th. They just emailed this afternoon and would like to postpone it another week because they have so much information that they're gathering right now that they want to have available for us before the steering committee meets. My last update is about home-to-school transportation. Napa Valley Unified provides home transportation for Calistoga. They were short 4 to 5 drivers at the beginning of this year. They had to reach out to Michaels, who is a transportation outside contract, and hire drivers at will. What that did for both St. Helena and Calistoga is pretty much doubled our transportation contract with them. So we're seeing about a $50,000 increase for the year 1920. They are in the process of trying to hire more drivers at Napa Valley and get them trained so we don't have to see this big of an increase, but right now that's the worst case scenario that we'll see. I'm currently working with St. Helena in figuring out what other options we have with both St. Helena and Calistoga to where maybe we can do some things together as districts and possibly do our own transportation department or hire another outside entity, which means we have to go out for a request for qualifications and a proposal. So that's all being talked about right now for possibly the year 2021, because we don't want to have to see another $50,000 increase next year. There will be more to talk about, and so stay tuned. I'll be bringing this back probably a few times this year, just because we don't know where all of this is going to go with Napa Valley Unified. Hopefully they'll be able to find all the drivers and hire everybody and we'll be fine, but if that's not the case, we'll have to do some planning in the future.
How many kids ride the school bus?
The last average we got was about 34 a day. So we don't have that many riders. I know St. Helena transports about 200. They have 3 routes, we have 1, or 2 I guess.
So just counting, for Friday we had 28 students between the high school and the elementary school, and today we had 33.
You just did that.
I counted it today, yeah. That's why the cameras have been good. Yeah.
That's right.
So the redrawing, the redistricting is just that one property there, right?
They actually have 2 properties. And it's kind of interesting because the line, it goes their property, then a property that's not theirs, and then their other property. So they literally have to redraw the line like this.
That's a whole. Talk about redoing the whole district realignment.
That's a whole nother process.
Yeah, that's a whole other development.
And remember, when you do something like that, you have to meet all the criteria that's set forth in the state. So there's, what were they, 8 different criteria or 9 different criteria? And so if you can't explain or meet all those criteria, it's not going to be approved.
Yeah, but if we never look at it, that the thing's exactly all the way to Diamond Mountain, and the castle conveniently fits in their pocket as well. And I think if we don't look at it, how would we know?
Well, we can definitely look at it, but I
Yeah,
think that she's saying it has to meet the criteria and that.
And what I'm saying is nobody here knows the criteria until we look at it. We just went through raises for everyone, and now we're talking about money that we're going to have to expend. I think we should do a better job at that and look at it all at once.
That process too.
So we work hard to do the hard work.
Mark, we can look at the criteria, and we can talk to the county office.
Awesome.
Bring it back to the board for your consideration. Well, as others have said before me, I think the school year has gotten off to a great start with our CJUSD family, and I've been especially impressed with the teaching that I've observed in the classrooms. I've gotten to all of them in the district. Our new staff members seem to have transitioned really well into the district, and I think the credit goes to both our site principals and their colleagues just for their welcoming and the support that they've been given in the first few weeks of school. We have begun our preparation for the upcoming Federal Program Monitoring Review, which is the FPM. Districts that accept categorical funds, in this district, that's Title 1, 2, 3, and 4, are reviewed every other year, to make sure that we're in compliance with law in relation to the Every Student Succeeds Act. This year, we received a total of $177,000 to support our students, so it's certainly worth the effort, even though it is a lot of work. The increased funding provides services to those students who need it. So those are students who are English learners and those who are living at the poverty level. Because our district has only recently begun receiving these federal funds, however, the laws change constantly, and so I know that we are not in compliance on some of our policies and our procedures. So our district office staff and our principals are already working to meet all the requirements prior to the CDE team presentation. That's going to be occurring on October 28th through the 30th. The majority of districts have months and months to prepare for the site visit. However, we were one of the lucky districts that was chosen to have our review very early in the school year. And so that speeds up all of our preparation and shortens that window, unfortunately. However, the CDE is trying to support districts. And so they will allow us to make any kind of corrections up until the second day of their visit. So literally, we may be changing procedures and presenting to them in hopes that they are not going to have a finding. But there is a small possibility that if they discover that one of our board policies is not meeting law, that I need to call a special meeting so that we can get that accomplished before they, that second day of their visit. And they do require, not only do you have to approve any new policy, but I will also have to present the minutes of the next board meeting. So it actually will require 2 board meetings if in fact we do need to follow that process. And as you know, during the restructuring of the district office last year, we eliminated the management position. That was our business manager position. And we redirected those funds to the schools to better support our student learning. However, since that time, we've added new categorical and grant programs this year, and both of those, or all of those, need fiscal and program oversight, which is new. And we're planning for upcoming bond construction projects, as you're aware of as well. So I'm very concerned that the current lack of clerical support at the district office is not going to allow either Michael or Maureen the time that they need to focus on their responsibility as directors. I think they're both extremely efficient. They work well beyond their contracted hours, but not adding clerical support, I feel, is going to begin to impact the level of customer service that I expect for us to provide. I think we've done a good job of that this last year. We got good impact or input from our staff. We did the LCAP survey that they're feeling that we've been supportive of them, and that eventually will affect students if we do not provide that support. So I'm going to be presenting a new job description at the next board meeting on October 7th, and I'll discuss a little more thoroughly at that time. Under LCAP goal number 2, as far as a healthy, safe, and positive school environment, there is a new program that's being sponsored by the county office. It's called Focusing on Children Under Stress, so they're calling it FOCUS. And it was introduced to the county by Stanislaus County. They are the only ones that I'm aware of that implemented it. The point is to try to connect school districts with first responders when they have had to respond to a family and a child might be experiencing some kind of negative effect from that. And they want to try to provide support to those kids immediately. So the intent is that when a first responder comes into contact with a family, that responder takes the child's basic information, obviously their name, their age, their birthday, and they enter it to this particular communication system. That system then sends that notification to the school to say, here's an alert. This child has had a traumatic event. We will not know what the event is, just simply that there's been a traumatic event in the family and you need to provide special care to that child. So it's just kind of a heads up. We're concerned about this kid and we want to support them in the way we can. So there's a little bit of back-end work that has to occur, obviously, for that, as far as the communication system between the county office, first responders, and the district. So that's currently been done, and we're hoping that the program will start this fall. And then under LCAP goal number 3, I want to publicly acknowledge and thank the Valley Family Center. Thank you, Indira, for hosting another successful back to school celebration. It was a fantastic event again. It is remarkable to see how many community agencies come out to support our families. And I think everybody also has a lot of fun. It was also nice to see so many parents at the elementary back to school night. I thought it was really well attended. And I look forward to attending the junior, senior high school back to school night this Thursday. Then in an effort to continually improve communication within the district, not just with our parents, I'm going to be distributing a monthly superintendent's update to all staff on the first working day of each month. So I've already sent one out. And then lastly, this is just an aside, the Napa County office every year hosts an annual administrators breakfast for the site principals and superintendents. And this year, their guest speaker is Tony Thurmond, who is our superintendent of public instruction. And so they have opened up the opportunity to all the board members in the county. So if you would like to go, please let me know. Again, it's on Tuesday, September 19th, 8 to 9:30 in the morning, and it's held at the county office. We can ride down together, we can meet there, but I would love to have at least one of you to come. September 17th. But we do need to RSVP because they prepare meals for everybody that attends. It's only an hour and a half out of the day. That's it, thank you.
Quick question. When is the CDE coming?
The CDE visit is October 28th through 30th.
Okay, so that's when we have to maybe.
Yeah. There is a possibility that they might ask to interview a board member as well.
All right.
And that's where we might have to call special.
I would probably be calling the special meeting prior to their visit. We are able to upload documents into the system prior to their visit, so that gives them a little bit of time to review and hopefully catch any kind of mistakes or revisions that need to be made before they actually get here.
Okay, 9.1 consent agenda. Actions proposed for the consent agenda are deemed routine in nature and will be enacted by one motion. There'll be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the board or audience or staff requests a specific item to be removed from the consent agenda for separate action. So at this point, I'm going to see, does anybody have anything that needs to be removed? No changes? Okay, then I'm looking for a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's a roll call vote. Clerk Reed?
Aye.
Trustee Lopez? Aye. Trustee Maxfield?
Aye.
Trustee Galindo?
Aye.
Student representative left. Perfect, okay. And President Elbison, aye. Okay, 10.2, Resolution 1920-02, Student Representative Induction. Following California Education Code 35012, which provides the board to authorize its students to make motions that may be acted upon by the board, except on employer-employee relations pursuant to Government Code 3540, 3549-3. And do you want to say anything about
I just want to say that I did let Alexa know that she could leave early to get her homework done, so that's why she left before this item.
So I'm looking for a motion to approve our new student representative.
So moved.
Second? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 10.3, Resolution 1920-03, GAN limit appropriations. I'm just going to go ahead and let you explain that. Rather than read it. I don't know that I really can. Do your best.
This is a proposition that passed way back in 1979. It's a 40-year-old law, and it just is something that school districts have to do. We have to establish our GAN limit appropriation. It has to do with the way property taxes and local taxes are dispersed to school districts, and essentially the school district has to establish our limit so the state of California can establish their limit. And with that, we do need our GAN limit base, I guess, for this year, the GAN limit appropriation. And that's what the resolution says that the board would be approving tonight, is that we do need that appropriation and all is well.
And all is well.
Meaning that we need it, we don't have to do anything else.
Okay, good, so I'm looking for a motion to approve the GAM limit appropriations. Second. All in favor? Okay. GAM limit set. And then 10.4, most fun part of the meeting, Maureen's unaudited actuals. Okay, another year has gone by. We are finished with the 2018-19 fiscal year, and so that's what unaudited actuals is a look at our actual expenditures and income for the year. We do go through, before we get to unaudited actuals, we do go through a process. We adopt a budget, then throughout the year we have interim reports, and those are usually reflecting projected ending balances in that year. And then the unaudited actuals is the only time in the year that we actually get to look at the real picture, the real financial picture of the district, because it's all of our income and our actual expenditures. All of our revenues and expenditures are accounted for that we know at the time of the year. Sometimes little things pop up after the year is over, but usually they're very minor. Our ending fund balances now reflect the actual balances of non-spendable, restricted, assigned, and unassigned reserves. So all of those are, at this point, unaudited. So because it's unaudited, the auditors still need to come in and they still need to look at everything. And then that's when the official audit report is done, but that's why it's called unaudited. And then we do these reports to the board, and then we have to have them to the county by the 15th of September. So as part of our revenue, we do get property tax revenue. We had a great increase, as John Tudor explained tonight, to our property taxes in 2018. We don't see all of that increase. He talked about the city of Calistoga increasing over 14%. We see a piece of that, and so part of that is in 17-18 and part of that is in 18-19. But you can see we've made, in 17-18 we have a drastic increase of almost 9%, and out of the last 5 years, 18-19 has actually been the least progressive for us at Calistoga and the school district. With that 17-18 revenue, we grew by 1.1 billion, I wish, million. And that year was the year we hired 4 new teaching positions. So that increase in revenue went directly to students and teaching in the classroom. We did hire a math teacher, an English teacher, an STC teacher, and an intervention teacher at the elementary school. This is a picture of our general fund revenue. Oh, my titles didn't come through for some reason on the Google Doc. Those actually have all the category names of federal, state, local, and that's kind of fun. And our property tax revenue. So out of all of our revenue, about 85% does come from our property taxes. So that's most of our revenue. Another 10 comes from our state, and then the rest is just a little bit with local revenue and federal revenue. So 95% comes from the federal and state. We saw an increase in our income from 17-18 through 18-19 of about 1.6 million. Bummer. So these are all our general fund expenditure categories. It's usually certificated salaries, classified salaries, and that's very now certificated pull through. Benefits, supplies, and operations, and then also transfers, I'm trying to do this from memory, and capital outlay. So overall, about 78% of our expenditures are in salaries and benefits for our employees. The other 22% have to go to supplies, services, utilities, outside contracts, special ed, special services through special ed, capital outlay. All of the rest is only 22%. Part of our funding through our property taxes is
supplemental concentration grant funding. We get appropriated so much per year. In 1819, we actually received 1.8 million. We adopted our LCAP at 1.895 million. And then we actually spent about 1.9. So we're spending more in our supplemental concentration grant dollars than we're actually getting from the state. The rest of that's coming from the rest of our property tax revenue. What these expenditures really are beyond our basic expenditures that we have in the classroom, beyond buying papers and pens, beyond buying, doing our utilities. These are extra services above and beyond to help our students that need the help. And we get this money based on unduplicated counts. And those unduplicated count students are our free reduced lunch students, our English language learners, and our foster youth. In 1819, it was almost 80% at 77.8. The funding we get actually through our property taxes is based on a 3-year average, and that average right now is currently at 77.62% for 1819. Some of the expenditures we use for supplemental concentration grants are expenditures that are actually in our LCAP and have to be in our LCAP as a service. And those are what we use them for: our intervention support, after-school tutors, additional EL instruction, counseling services, classroom curriculum software, professional development, and a college and career counselor. And this is not all-inclusive. There are many, many other ones. I just listed the majority. We always have contributions to other programs as part of our general fund. And so I just listed what we did in 17-18, what 18-19 is, and what we're seeing in the 19-20 budget so far. Remember, the 19-20 budget is just projections at this point. But those are actuals that you can compare, actuals 17-18 to 18-19. Obviously, our contributions to other programs are increasing. And you can see in that transportation line what the difference is going to be between 18-19 and 19-20 based on what I talked about tonight of the increase in contracts. We also have some special ed increases this year versus 18-19 as well. Child nutrition services, we had almost $300,000 budgeted to go into that fund. But in actuality, when all of the income came in and all the expenditures were done, we only had to contribute about $172,000, so that was good news.
Why did Yosemite and Headlands do that?
I haven't researched that yet, but my assumption is that we paid for a multiple year that year in 17-18, because truly when I look at the expenditures in the last couple of years of what the actual programs cost.
Like double.
Yeah, it's like double. And so the actual cost to run that program is anywhere between $70,000 to $75,000 on a yearly basis.
Isn't that funded through grants from Minnesota?
No, it's strictly a general fund donation. Parents participate, parents donate money to help. Some people might send in something to donate.
Some parents pay, some are subsidized, but it's okay.
And the Yosemite portion is about $52,000 and the Headlands portion is about $21,000.
It just looked different from the other slide.
Yeah, Aaron and I looked at that today and I didn't get a chance to go back and find out why it was so big that year. So our ending fund balance. This is a look at the different periods of time that I report out to the board what we were projecting our ending fund balances to be. And I kind of did it in chronological order of how we adopt. Then we go through first interim, then we go to second interim, then we adopt the next year, and then we have the current year unaudited actuals. So there's a big jump between second interim and budget adoption, and that's because usually I try and go through the budget and pull out anything that I know we're not going to spend, or any one-time funds that are going to go into the next year. So at that time, I'm really trying to evaluate to get a better picture of what the ending fund balance is going to look like. And then, of course, after you go through receiving revenue in the unaudited actuals period and also getting all your expenditures through, then you obviously have a different number for unaudited actuals. So between second interim and unaudited, there's about a $691,000 swing. $473,000 is restricted funding. So that means we had Prop 39 projects that we didn't complete in 18-19 that went into 19-20. Title I, Title II, special education, and we also have a curriculum set aside in our local restricted grants that we have a big carryover in. And so those are all things that are getting carried over that are restricted funding. That changes the outlook from second interim to unaudited actuals. And then the other 218,000 comes from property taxes came in about 51,000 more than budgeted, and local income also came in about 81,000 more than budgeted. But that has to do with E-rates, so we have to claim E-rate as an income. We also hit the expenditure side, but that was the difference in the local income. And then taxes from property taxes, literally up until May, I have a figure that we think we're going to get in, and then June brings a whole different month and a whole different amount. So it's kind of hard to predict the end of the year property tax revenue. Some of the reasons we have more money at the end of the year versus what we're projecting is because we're projecting on a budget throughout the rest of the year. But then when we get to unaudited actuals, we actually see, oh, we actually spent this much in textbooks, which was only 86% of what we thought we were going to spend. So that 14% drops to our ending bottom line, essentially. And so that's what makes your ending fund balance grow from year to year. Some of this stuff gets rebudgeted and then it gets spent in the next year. But essentially, we're spending, upwards of anywhere from 66 to 98% of our allocations. But what I also wanted to look at in this slide is the amount of dollars that we are using for school site allocations. So there's some big numbers there. We do some great things. Obviously, there's great services happening with professional development, field trips, and then obviously textbooks and technology. I always like to look at sub-cost. I always look at sub-cost to think, are we budgeting enough from year to year? So 83%, I'd like to get a little bit closer on that. I want to get into the 98% where we're spending 98% of what's budgeted, because that means we're really cluing in on knowing how much time people are going to be gone and things like that. I was a little surprised by the additional dollars and stipends of $479,000. But that's all athletic stipends, that's all the stipends we do in the district. So it gets up there when you add up all the programs we. Pardon? Is that tutoring? Tutoring as well, yeah. We did spend a lot of money on tutoring last year. So the components of an ending fund balance. An ending fund balance has assets and liabilities, and that's what gets you to the ending fund balance. We always have to have $8,000 set aside for our revolving cash checking account. We had prepaid items in 18-19 that were prepaid for 19-20 of $77,000. Our restricted balances, those are things like I talked about before, Title I, Special Ed, Title II, $907,000. And then we have other assignments that either we know we need to prepare for something, or we know that there's an expenditure coming up in 19-20 that we want to make sure we set aside money for. And so we have this year about $798,000 in other assignments. And some of those are stirs and purrs. We want to make sure we put away some money for stirs and purrs, because we know those are going to keep climbing as far as what employers contribute. We also have some money set aside for maintenance, about $60,000. Stirs and purrs, about $200,000. And then we had some health and welfare adjustments for the increases we did last year that we had to budget for in 19-20. That was about $66,000. And then we've got some technology upgrades and those other assignments at about $90,000. And then we're setting aside to look at our technology department and kind of reconfigure the way we're doing things. So we want to make sure we start planning for that. Instead of having one big expense come at one time, we want to put away a little bit as we get ready to move forward with different technology. I put away a little bit with, Aaron talked about tonight, our clerical staff in the district office, so I put away a little bit as an assignment for that, knowing that we're going to have to budget for that in 19-20. And then there's some salaries in our EPA dollars, which have to be spent only on instructional related items. That is a carryover for us, so that's about $21,000. So all the other assignments, they're recommended. They're, as the board approves the budget and approves the adoption of, or the unaudited actuals, that's something that you're approving, is saying, okay, we're approving to set aside this money. The other thing we have to set aside is a reserve for economic uncertainty. That $682,000 is exactly what our 4% is. Of course, we are a community funded district. We want to make sure we have more than that. The board has a policy at 20%. At the end of 18-19, we're really at 16.6%. So we do want to work on also increasing that reserve. And the reserve, I did say that already, the reserve percentage of funds is 4% of what we legally have to have in our reserve. Other income balances for the district, we have other funds. Our cafeteria fund had an income balance of $114,000. The other 4 funds are all capital outlay funds, so they can only be spent on capital outlay projects, construction projects. They can't be used for any administrative fees or anything like that. Next steps, we're going to update the 1920 budget for the first interim. That'll come to the board in December. We continue to monitor property tax income and adjust projections accordingly. I just got in some new special ed numbers today, so I'll keep adjusting those. And then I like to keep the board, staff, and community informed of significant budget changes throughout the year. And just a reminder that expenditures for first interim are expenditures through October 31st, but presented to the board about a month and a half later, on December 15th. And that is all I have. Are there any questions? Is everyone still awake? Of course.
Okay, well, having seen all that, I am looking for a motion to go ahead and approve the unaudited actuals. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Maureen. Next, 10.5 is our revised salary schedule presented by Michael. I'm going to let you just go ahead and explain it because it'll be redundant.
So we are bringing, we're bringing 3 salary schedules back. Three salary schedules are coming back to you today. We have the hourly salary schedule, which captures those payments that aren't captured elsewhere. We've added in a summer boot camp. This was a payment that was made to an employee that's just not captured anywhere else. We've added the lead cook position to the classified salary schedule. And then the co-curricular schedule has just been updated. These are all the updates to the coaching stipends that happen on an annual basis. So we have 3 salary schedules presented.
Thank you for staying on top of keeping them all up to date. That's awesome. Does anybody have any questions? No? Okay. So then I'm just looking for a motion to go ahead and approve his revised salary schedules. Second? Second. All in favor? Aye. 10.6, the lead cook job description.
We currently have a director of food service and then an assistant cook employees right now. And this is a job description for a lead cook, which would allow someone to, beyond the food preparation duties, do some other things like inventory, ordering food, and some of the reporting things that happen in that department. So this is a new job description for lead cook.
Great. No questions? Okay, just looking for an approval for that. I mean, a motion to approve.
So moved.
Great, all in favor? Aye. Great. 10.7, agreement with Sunbelt Staffing. It's also you, Michael.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited about this. This is an agreement with a third-party staffing group to provide an in-person occupational therapist. And we were really holding out that this would happen, and it did. So we're excited to have an in-person therapist for our students this year, and his contract authorizes that.
Perfect. Great. Questions? Done? Okay, just looking for a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. And 10.8, agreement with Curtis Pollock, and I'll let Maureen go ahead and explain that.
Kurt Pollock is a consultant that helps school districts with filing OPSC reports on final construction. And so we have to, by November, I think 15th, file a final report on the elementary school modernization project that took place way back in 2012. And Kurt is going to come in, hopefully, and help me compile that report. There's hundreds and hundreds of documents to go through, and he will be able to go through those documents and compile the report to get it ready to go to OPSC. It's probably a one-time deal. Hopefully, we won't need him past just this one time. And he's a consultant.
So question, do we have to do that for the other construction that we've done, or did something get, how come we have to do it?
You have to do it for every single project that you do.
So we're gonna have to do it for the gym?
Well, I don't know if those have been done yet. I think those have already been done. I'll have to check that. But we have to do them for every construction project.
Yeah, so did the ball get dropped somewhere, or?
I don't think it was complete. I don't think it was completely completed
Completely.
until we received that final allocation last year. I think it was last maybe November, December. We received 400-something thousand.
So that's kind of a trigger.
And so that, yes. So because we received that funding, they said, oh, by the way, if we weren't done with the project, I'd have to file a partial completion and let them know where we were in the project, but because we're finished, I have to file a claim.
Okay, so looking for a motion to approve our agreement with Kurt Pollock.
So look.
Great, all in favor? And 10.9, board policies and administrative regulations. So we're going to come back to Erin on this approval.
So as I mentioned earlier, I'm asking for the first reading and then to approve. What you may have noticed is there was a different format being used on board policy 1312.3, and that is because this was suggested, this particular policy, by the UCP reviewer, because CSBA's policy is not current with the law that just recently changed, and so she cautioned me that if we were to move forward with the CSBA sample, that she was certain that it would be a finding for the district during the FPM process. So it is a different format. I will say after reviewing it, I think it's probably a little more parent-friendly language, and this is a policy for parents and staff and students in case there is some kind of complaint that they would like to file. So I don't think it's a bad thing that the language is different or the format is different. And the rest of the policies are also relating to one of the 3 areas that we're being reviewed in, which again is compensatory education, English learners, and UCP.
Okay, then I'm just looking for a motion to go ahead and approve the board policies.
So moved.
Okay, all in favor? Okay. So closing items, next board meetings, nothing's changed there? No? October 7th, November 4th, and December 9th, unless we need to have a special one for this motion we just passed. And then upcoming events, back to school night on the 12th, and future agenda items, public hearing on sufficiency of instructional materials, which is the annual thing, and our site safety plans. So there's no need to reconvene to close session, so I'm looking for our very favorite motion.
Motion to adjourn.
There we go. All in favor? All right.